Majesty, Your Royal Highnesses, Your Serene Highness, Your Excellencies, my Lords, Ladies and Gentlemen. Your Majesty, we welcome with all our hearts Your Majesty this night to this London, as we do their Royal Highnesses Crown Princess Margherita and Prince Radu, Princess Elena and the Honourable Elisabetta Caterina de Romani. You are all truly welcome. Your Majesty's life truly is the history of most of the 20th century and already a good part of the 21st. Your life would be unbelievable if it were not totally true. But Your Majesty emerged from the seething turmoil with your character unscathed. Olivia Manning, in the first volume of her Balkan trilogy, described seeing the young king, Your Majesty, riding through the crowds on a white horse, as she described it, like an island of class and decency amidst an ocean of violence and despair. When war came to Europe, Your Majesty, the Queen Mother, your mother, the late Queen Helen and yourself began immediately by having in the royal palace and other palaces your subjects who were Jewish. At times there were between 100 and 200 Jewish subjects hidden in your palace. And I checked the figures, so it wasn't exaggeration, but Your Majesty has confirmed that by the end of the war it is estimated that the Queen Mother and yourself managed to save the lives of no less than between 100 and 200,000 Jews. Commemorated in Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. Marshal Antonescu, but of course it was not for long, for Your Majesty struck. At the age of just 22, and it's an extraordinary story, you summoned one of the most feared dictators in Europe to the palace, and there, personally, with just a handful of loyal ADCs, arrested him at gunpoint. As he was led off to imprisonment in the royal stamp room, he shouted at you and spat at you, saying, "You will be executed in the morning." But that didn't happen. Within hours, you had closed the concentration camps, freed all Jewish subjects who were held there, and also the Allied prisoners of war, ordered the occupying German troops out of Romania, and brought Romania into the war on the side of the Allies. You paid a heavy price initially for what you did, Your Majesty. Hitler ordered your death or capture, but preferably the former. And again, unbelievably, for a week, you and the Queen Mother were on the run, literally. Sheltered by loyal peasants in farmhouses and cottages, sleeping at night in cars. On one occasion, even hiding behind a haystack, while a German convoy looking for you passed by. But you were triumphant, and in only a week after what history has come to know as King Michael, the Germans had fled Romania, and Hitler's minister in Bucharest had shot himself. Tragically, your courage did not lead to the peace and tranquility your country deserved. For Stalin determined to swallow up Romania. But for 3 years you stayed there. You endured further appalling privations. The electricity and water supply to the palace were cut off. Guns were trained on us. Of course, you always refused to leave. And eventually the communists lined up 1,000 students and threatened to kill them one by one until Your Majesty agreed under duress to go. And so you had to leave Romania. The communists insisted it had to be at night before the people realized what was happening. There was a long train journey through Transylvania to the west. But even as it always does, the news leaked out. And if this is true, all along the way, your subjects lined the tracks and the railway platforms and the stations by the tens of thousands to sing the royal anthem as your train slowly passed through. You left your homeland in 1947 to the strains of Long Live the King, strains which in a few minutes we will hear ourselves tonight. There followed 45 years of exile from your beloved homeland, as your people suffered the most monstrous brutality of communist oppression. But justice would be done in the end. And nearly 20 years ago, you and Queen Anne returned in triumph to Bucharest. It took, history records, more than 2 hours just to drive from the airport to the cathedral to hear the Te Deum played in thanksgiving for your return. So great were the crowds that thronged and pressed against the car, more than 1 million lining the route to the cathedral. And so now, to dignity, and back in that same royal palace where you were forced to abdicate all those years ago, you are once again the most revered and respected person in your country, the conscience of the nation, as was when you addressed both houses of Parliament just under a year ago. But Your Majesty, we need not only talk of the past, but of the future too, for you are still a beacon for the future of your country. In your way, Crown Princess Margarita and Prince Radu, you have tireless champions for the oppressed and the underprivileged. The Princess Margarita Foundation for Children, which I have visited myself in Bucharest, extraordinary and wonderful example for the world of what can be done for the young, underprivileged and needy. Your Majesty, your life and the privilege, despite your exalted birth, one of hardship, fortitude, self-sacrifice, decency and pure courage. You've been merely a king, but a truly great king, who changed the course of history for the better. Quite apart from those 100 to 200,000 that you saved, it is now universally accepted that thanks to you, the Second War was shortened by at least months, and at least 500,000 lives were saved by your actions. There will undoubtedly be some of us here tonight who owe our lives of our families and friends to the courage of Your Majesty all those years ago. Today is the feast of St. Michael and All Angels in the Orthodox calendar, and Your Majesty named. And earlier this Majesty went to the Queen's Chapel of the Savoy, the presence of the royal family, for a special service to commemorate the start of your 75th year of the Royal in Order, the first knight ever to achieve such a distinction. And uniquely, a special stall plate was installed in the chapel in your honour, the first ever given to a member of a non-British royal family. Your Majesty, of course, you are now part of the fabric of this city of London. You are a freeman and citizen of London, a liveryman of the Wax Chandlers, and a royal member of the Guild of Freemen. Please know that you will always enjoy the love, respect, and awe of your fellow citizens. Your Majesty, we are sorry that Queen Anne is not able to be with us tonight, but rest assured that she is very much in our thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us tonight not just the King, but one who I truly believe is one of the greatest sovereigns who has ever reigned. We rejoice that he is able to be with us and to dine here amongst friends. Will you now please rise, but I propose the toast to the King of Romania. the King of Romania,
King of Romania,